What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Balian, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today I'm going to get into everything that went down in Week 12 of the NFL season. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode. Let's start on Thursday Night Football in Cleveland with a snow game, the first snow game of the year. Jameis Winston and the Browns taking on Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Browns win this one 24-19. I mean, it's just a bad loss for the Steelers, and I don't blame them. The Browns they're in an interesting spot because Jameis Winston shouldn't win them too many games. I think they should go for a quarterback in the draft, select a quarterback with whatever pick they get. I would assume it's going to be top 10, and because they've been awful this year. Right now, Tankathon has the Browns at the 8th overall pick, but there's so many teams. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4, 3, and 8 teams, and then another 3 and 9 team. So that's going to change. I would assume they're going to be higher. And the Browns are talking about starting their backup quarterback, Dorian Thomas Robinson, over Jameis Winston, and that would be because they want to lose games. The most ethical tanking move, pulling out a quarterback that's been playing too well because you want to lose games. But the Browns could go around and they could play spoiler this for the rest of this year. I mean, it wouldn't be too crazy to me. I think their team, they have the talent on their roster. It's just about how those guys are playing. Like, they have Jerry Jeudy. They have Myles Garrett. Jameis Winston has proved throughout his career he can be a starting quarterback. He's going to be a backup he's never going to get a starting job again, but he'll always be a backup and step up when he needs to step up. But from a Steelers perspective now, they need to get right this week. They lost this week. It's not a good loss every time you lose to a bad team, especially a bad team on the caliber of the Browns, who are just not good at all. But if you're looking at the Steelers, last week they lost. They beat the Ravens. They were on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game winning streak before that. And now it's a matter of how do they pick themselves up after losing. The other loss, well, the last time they lost again, their first loss of the year, they followed that up with another loss. We'll see if they could just get right away and not waste another game. Because in this AFC, 4 losses is not going to cut it. You're going to make the playoffs. You'll definitely make the playoffs. But if they want to be like a top team, if they want to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the AFC, they've got to win almost all these games. Like, the Chargers were the 4 seed last week. They lost 1 game to the Ravens, and now they're all the way at the 6th on the brink of elimination. So, well, not elimination, but like you get what I mean. They're a wild card team now. So it's going to be a matter of, can the Steelers bounce back next week? Playing another subpar team in the Bengals, who shouldn't be subpar, but they are. So they have to lock in and actually play really hard if they want to win that game. All right, next game, Giants and Bucks at MetLife, 30-7. Tampa Bay wins it. Let's go. Tommy DeVito did not have the spark that he had last year. It's a great thing to see. Tommy DeVito, I hope he doesn't have it. And this is not me hating on the guy. I mean, He's a Giant. I want him to do good, play well rather. But I mean, if he doesn't play well, it's not the end of the world to me because the Giants are the have the same record as the Giants, and the Giants can realistically get the number one over. And like I talked about in my episode on, if you haven't, was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday. If you haven't seen that episode, go check it out after this one. But I talked about how the Giants, if they get that number one overall pick, they should look to trade it, or they might not want to take a quarterback. This might not take their franchise quarterback. So getting the number one overall pick is great, but it's not the end all be all because there's so much talent all the way down in this draft. And now the Bucks are in like a really weird spot because they're a game under 500, but they built their record when they had Chris Godwin. And now they're without him. They have Kate Otten and they have Micah Evans, and Bucky Irving is the guy. He has to continue to be that next man up, and he has to continue to replace Chris Godwin's production in Godwin's absence. The Bucks aren't going anywhere if they don't have two guys that are producing at a really high level. That's been their formula to winning over the last 4 or 5 years. Even when it was the Tom Brady team, it was always Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside. Oh, that's a scary duo. Mike Evans is going to be a Hall of Famer. Chris Godwin, he won't be, but he's always going to be a volume receiver. And now Godwin goes down. The Bucks are still going to make playoffs. If you look at the NFC playoffs, it's even worse. If you could be under 500 and like in a game out. Like the Bucks are, I think they're a game and a half out of the playoffs right now at 5-6. So they're still in the mix by all means. And so they need to keep winning. And now going to the Bucks schedule, I went up over the next couple weeks. The Bucks, they'll play Carolina, they'll play Las Vegas, they'll play Carolina twice, and New Orleans twice. And New Orleans is so known that they could play well on any given week, but they could also come out and be awful. So you really don't know what you're getting with them. But it's right out in front of them for the Bucks. If they win a couple games down the stretch, I could see them being a playoff team. And now going back to the Giants for just a second, it seems like the locker room and the team is just not connected at all. And I don't think it's Daboll's fault. I think Daboll's done a fine job this year. I think going for it on fourth down, he does a little bit too much. He's a little bit over-aggressive. But that's today's NFL. The guys not being connected in the locker room and the connections being fractured, that's on the players. And I know you say, oh, Daboll's got to keep them strung together. Daboll can't let them get unconnected. How is Daboll going to change that? He's not going to change a couple guys from not liking each other. That's not his job. He's not there to babysit. He's there to coach an NFL football team. So the Giants have to figure out that I think it could be a clear house after this year, not in terms of head coaching, but in terms of a lot of the players. Like I think it's going to be a new quarterback. Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock will not start next year. They're going to bring somebody in, whether that's a Sam Darnold or something like that. I don't know who else is out there this offseason, but there will be guys, even if they don't draft one, there should be a couple new wide receivers. The secondary needs to be bolstered, and the defensive line that was supposed to be so good this year hasn't done much, but a lot of that piggybacks off the secondary being bad. I thought the secondary was going to be underrated this year. I thought they were going to play a little bit feisty, and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. A lot of young, unproven guys. Tyler Nubin coming out of the second round, I thought he was going to be awesome. Tay Banks, I thought was going to be better. He's just been brutal this year. But the secondary not being good does not allow the defensive line to be good, because if the defensive backs and the safeties are allowing open receivers, it doesn't matter how little time the defensive line is giving the quarterback to get the ball out. If he has wide open guys, he could just sling it all day long, and there's nothing the Giants defense can do about it. Well, there's a lot the defense could do about it, just not the guys up front like Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence, who is playing at an all-world level this year. All right, next game of the week, almost the upset of the week, the Chiefs and the Panthers. 30-27, Kansas City escapes for the win, but it came down to the wire. And let me start it with this. Patrick Mahomes is the man coming down the wire of an NFL football game. But the Chiefs, for me, this Black Friday, they play the Raiders. They have to come out and control this game from the opening kick. They need to prove to me that they can win a game and it be low stress all the way through. They need to come out. They just need to put up a ton of points, and they need to be locked in on defense. And this is the perfect week for the Chiefs to do it because they play the Raiders, and they absolutely own the Raiders. That being said, though, Patrick Mahomes hasn't had it like he has in years past. He's looked good. He's been really good this year, but I don't know if it's he doesn't have the top targets. He doesn't have Rashee Rice. He doesn't have Isaiah Pacheco, or the defense is just figuring out how to play him better. And don't get me wrong, he's still been amazing this year. Mahomes this year he's playing at an incredible level. I mean, it's what we've gotten used to as NFL fans, and yeah, he's got 2,600 passing yards, almost 2,700, 18 touchdowns, but is a lot for Mahomes. He's got a 69% complete percentage. He's playing really well, but there's definitely he could be playing better, and I just need to see the Chiefs play a complete game and really win from the jump this Black Friday. But going back to this game, Bryce Young might end up being the guy for the Panthers after all the drama starting last year, the Panthers being awful. He gets benched like halfway through this year. Andy Dalton gets hurt, so he comes back out. The Panthers have played solid football games for their standard. I think they beat the Giants in Germany. Oh, I don't know what the Giants really are, but they beat the Saints. I mean, those are over the last 3 weeks. I think that's all Bryce Young has played in this second starting stint. But he might be the guy. He looks a lot better. He looks a lot happier. He looks more comfortable playing football, and he doesn't care as much. He's just playing loose. He's playing free. All right, let's get to the next game. The game of the week. Cowboys at Commanders, FedEx Field. Dallas wins an absolutely awesome game. Might be the game of the year. Brutal special teams, awesome special teams, a ton of offense, a tight game down the wire, a 34-26 final score kind of deceives you because this game, it was a 1-point game before a second kick return touchdown in the fourth quarter. So let me recap the scoring in the fourth quarter. All right. Cowboys are up 3. They're getting the ball back. Kevontae Turpin muffs the kick. He picks it up, takes on a Commanders defender, spin move all the way to the house. 100-yard kick return for a touchdown. That puts the Cowboys up 10. PAT is good. Then Austin Seibert kicks a 51-yard field goal, which is an absolute bomb on field goal because I do think it was raining. It cuts the lead to 20-17, I believe, if I look at the scoring here. In the fourth quarter. I'm not doing the whole fourth quarter. All right. So it cuts the score to 27-20. Then the Commanders defense forces a punt. The Jaden Daniels comes on the field with about 28 seconds remaining, a little bit more than that. 86-yard touchdown pass. Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin, 27-26 with a PAT on the way. One play, 86 yards in 12 seconds. It was all lining up for the Commanders for a comeback bid to break out of this slump because they've been scuffling a little bit recently. So here comes Austin Seibert on the field again. Seibert. The snap is good. The hold is good. Seibert's kick is up, and it misses wide. Austin Seibert leaves the kick wide. and the Commanders stayed down a point with 21 seconds remaining. Just an awful turn of events, because it felt like there was no way he was going to miss that PAT. The momentum was all the way on the Commanders' side. He got a little excited, and he just shanked it. It happens. But that's not the moment you want it to happen. And then onside kick attempt for the Commanders. I don't know how to say his name. Juanye. That's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't know how to say it. Juanye Thomas, 43-yard kick return for a touchdown on the outside kick. That put the game away. 34-26 final score. We're now talking about the Cowboys, because that win might be a bad win. Yes, that's such a thing in the NFL. Jerry Jones believes in the Cowboys to make the playoffs. They're 3 games under 500, 11 games into the year. They have 6 more games. If they're going to make the playoffs, they would probably have to win 4 of them. They could go 8-9 and sneak in, I think, this year. They can win 1 or 2 more games. They could 1 or 2 games. That's it. But they've got to win almost every game from here on out. And Jerry Jones also said Mike McCarthy could be back next year. It's not the right move. Mike McCarthy is not a good NFL head coach. He hasn't done anything with the Cowboys. The Cowboys are good every year in the regular season, except this year. This is the first year in a long time that they're not good. But then they lose in the playoffs. In the NFL, do you want to win in the regular season or do you want to win in the playoffs? It's not bad luck for Mike McCarthy. It's not all on him. I know Dak Prescott last year was absolutely brutal in the playoff game. What was that, 45-15? Packers came in to Jerry World and just cooked the Cowboys. But Mike McCarthy is not the option. There's a lot of good head coaching candidates that are going around this offseason. Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, John Gruden, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, all the guys that you hear everywhere. But Mike McCarthy's not the answer. And if I'm Jerry Jones and I'm in Jerry Jones' family, you got to step in, you got to intervene, and you have to take away some of his power. He has way too much power as just being the owner. He's got to let his general manager do some of this work. But it starts with firing the head coach, hiring a new one, and seeing what he wants to do about the quarterback situation. Because they are not in a good spot quarterback-wise whatsoever. All right, next game, Patriots and Dolphins. Dolphins win it 34-15. I'm telling you, man, I said it a couple weeks ago. Dolphins are going to go on a run. Tua getting back is going to change the Dolphins season, and it has. They've won. Let's see. I think I put it down. Didn't. I think they've won their last 4 games. They're a game under 500 now, threatening for the playoffs. I mean, they're second in their division, which isn't saying much wise, because that's really all that matters, because the Bills are going to win the division. They're the 8th seed. They're a game and a half back. Given the Broncos are ahead of them, and the Broncos look really have had a real connection. And I don't know. I think that could be a real quarterback head coach combo and a problem in the league for the next 10 years. I think Bo Nix is going to be really good. He's mature. He's mobile. He can throw the ball. He's going to be a really good NFL quarterback. Another guy who's going to be a really good NFL quarterback, Drake May. He has looked really confident, comfortable, and mature. Those are the 3 adjectives I would use to describe Drake May's play so far in the NFL. I didn't think he was going to be good. I still don't think he's going to be the best quarterback out of this class. I think that'll be Drake May, or not Drake May, Bo Nix, or Jaden Daniels. Those 2 are in a race for Rookie of the Year right now. But Drake May will still be a good quarterback for the next 7-8 years. I don't think he's going to be anything crazy, but he's going to be really good. Getting back to the Dolphins real quick, they look dangerous. They're back in the mix, and Jalen Waddle finally had a big game. That is so huge for the Dolphins. Drake May, not Drake May, I'm too locked in on Drake May. Jalen Waddle Um, Jalen Waddle playing well and having big games is going to be huge for the Dolphins because Tyreek Hill has not been anything special this season. Yeah, he's been good, but he's not the Tyreek Hill of the past. Um, Tyreek Hill, he hasn't had the stats. He's looked like he's lost a step, and that happens. He's getting older. He's only got another 4 or 5 years in the league, I would guess. So I don't think he's going to be. I don't know. I think he's just losing it a little bit, and that happens. Father Time is undefeated. All right, next game: Titans and Texans. Another brutal special teams game. And this is a bad one for the Texans. This is an absolutely brutal loss. CJ Stroud's sophomore slump has been real, and I don't like to see it. I like CJ Stroud. I like the swagger he brings to the game, and I like the vibe and the energy he brings. He hasn't had it this year, though. I mean, I'm not gonna pull up stats, but you could see by watching him, he's looked a little lost in the pocket. He hasn't looked as confident. And I don't know, that big time rookie year might have not been the best thing that happened to him. He might have let it go to his head, and he might have lost a little bit. But this game wasn't his fault. This game was on the hands of the Texans kicker, another name I can't really pronounce, Kaimi Fairbairn, who missed a field goal late in the game that would have won the game, I would assume. With I think it was like a minute 40 left. But he misses that field goal, and then the Texans or the Titans go down the field. If I pull up of that one real quick, but the Texans would have won it. Or at least it would have gone to overtime because that field goal tied the game. Yeah, with a minute 13, with like a minute 40 left, and then the Titans forced a safety to put them up 5, and that's how it got to 32-27. But the special teams hasn't been good. It was awful all the way around the league. And for the Texans specifically, they're not in a terrible spot. They're a playoff team right now. They're sitting at 7-5. That's good enough to get into the playoff AFC. But if I'm a Texans fan, I'm okay with what they've done. I know they haven't been good, but if they get hot and say week 14, 15, they could go a long way in the playoffs. If CJ Stroud breaks out of this slump in week 14 and 15, they're going to be all right. Because so much of the NFL playoffs is who's hot at the right time, that if the Texans and DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud are clicking on all cylinders, and Take Dell and Stephon Diggs, the Texans are going to be quite all right, and they could go to the AFC Championship. But the thing is that the AFC is so loaded this year, and that every game is going to be a battle. Like with the NFC, I think the Lions and the Eagles are going to cruise to the NFC Championship. But every game in the AFC playoffs is going to be an absolute war. And we'll see who comes out on top. The playoffs are going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. All right, next game. Not going to spend too much time on this one. Lions and Colts. Lions take another win, 24-6. Lions are an absolute wagon. The offense is absolutely special. Dan Campbell is an amazing head coach, and the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. That's what I've seen. Unless another team in the NFC gets like ridiculously hot in week at the start of the playoffs and just continues all the way to the Super Bowl. But that doesn't really happen too much in the NFL. Usually those teams get hot around this time of year. All right, next game. Another really good game. It's the Vikings and the Bears. Vikings come out on top, 30-27. Caleb Williams has really made the most of his rookie season, with the Bears changing coaches midway through, offensive coordinators rather, midway through, him having to learn a new offense, not a fully new offense, but adapt to the style of offensive coordinator that the Bears have brought in. It's hard to do that on the fly. It's hard to do that at any level of football, but especially as a rookie quarterback with all the pressure in the world on you, That is not an easy thing to do, but he is making the best out of the season. He is really using the season to get better. The Bears will be better next year, and Caleb Williams will be better for it. A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of rookie quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks of his stature will kind of take this season off and really lock in over the offseason and get right with their new offensive coordinator. But no, Caleb Williams is using it as time to work on his game, time to get better, more reps, and he's played really well. And for the Vikings, their young quarterback, JJ McCarthy, I think they should look to trade him and keep Sam Darnold long term. That's how good Sam Darnold's been. JJ McCarthy was the 11th. Was he the 11th? He might have been the 10th overall pick of this draft. Don't quote me on that, though. Vikings took him very high. He got hurt towards MCL. He was out for the year, didn't play a single NFL snap this season. He was going to start for the Vikings right away, but instead Sam Darnold got the opportunity. And Sam Darnold has not relished this opportunity. He has been playing at an elite level from week one at MetLife Stadium. Sam Darnold has looked very impressive. He's turned his career down with, what's his name? 49ers head coach. Why am I blanking? Kyle Shanahan. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Career around last year when he was a backup under Kyle Shanahan, and now he's got his own chance. He's got his own team with the Vikings. And I could see him getting bounced around this offseason. I could see him going to free agency and signing elsewhere. But if I'm Vikings front office, I'm going to take a long, hard look at what I could get for J.J. McCarthy and if I do want to sign Sam Darnold long term, because that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. All right, next game, Broncos and Raiders, 29-19. The Broncos take this one. Bo Nix is legit. Bo Nix is right on Jaden Daniels' heels for that offensive rookie of the year, and it doesn't help that the Commanders are scuffling. They've lost, I think, 3 games in a row now. Coming down the stretch, the journalists are going to be looking at what team is going to win, what team is winning games, what quarterback's looking better late in the season, and the Broncos have looked better. And for the Raiders, I think they should look better. They should look at Daniel Jones this offseason. Jones signed with the Vikings today, but they should look at him this offseason because he could be a real option, someone who could turn their career around after getting out of MetLife Stadium. We've seen it a ton of times. All right. Next game, 49ers and Packers. I'm going to spend time on the last 2 games, not these next 2 games, though. 49ers and Packers, 38-10. Green Bay wins it. The 49ers just don't have the depth without Brock Purdy, without I don't know if Trent Williams played, but they have so many injuries. They've dealt with injuries the whole year. And the Packers, they look like they're getting right. Jordan Love, it looks a little bit better. He's getting better every week. He's trying to break out of this sophomore slump. He's had one too. The interceptions have been a problem for him this year. And if Jordan Love could get right, the Packers are a sneaky little team in the NFC. All right, next game, Cardinals and Seahawks, 16-6. Seattle wins it. The NFC West this year, there's just a jumble of all good but not great teams. Like the Seahawks are a 3 seed at 6-5, which is ridiculous because they would be like a 7 or an 8 seed in the AFC. Like the NFC West is just the epitome of mediocrity. Like the 49ers are, I believe, 500 and they're last in the conference. So it's a good division rather, but it's very mediocre. All right, last 2 games, Eagles and Rams. Saquon Barkley is an absolute beast. I mean, the Eagles and Saquon Barkley have been absolutely ridiculous. Saquon's going to get 2,000 rushing yards easily this season. It sucks as a Giants fan, but he made the right career move. And as I said last night, TD from Gillette called it, and he said the Giants make a mistake not signing Saquon. The mistake was giving Daniel Jones $140 million because that $140 million could have been used on Saquon Barkley. And the Eagles are the only team besides the Lions I think can really come out of the NFC. All right, last game, Chargers and Ravens. A really good game. Baltimore wins it 30-23. They're approaching wagon status at this point too. They're really good. They're on a roll. Harbaugh Thanksgiving is going to be real funny. John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh. How's work this week, Jim? That's pretty funny. But there's so many legit teams in the AFC, just getting back to football talk, that the playoffs are really going to be about who's hot at the right time. Because the Chargers are going to be without J.K. Dobbins right now for at least 1 week, maybe more, with an MCL sprain. Is he going to be back, and is he going to be ready for the playoffs? All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, or following based on your platform. If you want to leave a voicemail, 848-305-8073 is the number to do it. And make sure you check out all the links in the description below. And most importantly, keep it locked with the Sports Pod.